So since we're on the topic of infrastructure, let's just jump into that too. So that's very good to note. So William, I guess a follow-up question for you too then in terms of infrastructure. Just a little background here. Biden's plan for Build Back Better. As Laurie mentioned, it's going to be in the trillions. They're estimating between $3 to $4 trillion, of which approximately about $1 trillion of that will go towards the roads, the rails, the bridges, the charging stations. And then the rest of it will go to job creations, technologies. The shipping industry it's multimodal. We all know that, right? And each piece relies on the other to run efficiently and not get bottlenecked or disrupted. But when we look at the future, in your port, William, we discussed Vision 2025. We're talking about projects that have been ongoing, whether it's the berth improvements, double stack rail we had discussed. So you're planning for the future, of course. So with the possibility of funding towards our infrastructure becoming a reality, which we all hope for, where else should we focus our efforts? If the money goes to the state level, I guess from your perspective in your region, what else do we need to look at so that we can start handling higher increase of cargo volumes from a post-COVID world and help our aging infrastructure?
I think the infrastructure, when you take a look at the maritime community as a whole, especially on the East Coast, because the East Coast, we're a population center. So when you're, the population over for the United States of America, as far as the crow flies, it's that mid-Atlantic to the Northeast and the South Atlantic, out to the Great Lakes. Okay, a lot of the way that the supply chain is set up is you're on trucks. So you have a truck back and forth, and then you have rail. I think that when you look at the infrastructure on the East Coast, and I'll even throw in the Gulf Coast, a lot of it's going to rely on the dredging. You're going to have a lot of dredging and maintenance dredging that will continue into the future because of the Panama Canal, the expansion, and perhaps maybe a fourth expansion. So you have that. Then you have your roads, the East Coast, I-95 corridor, and all of the east-west roads, need to be continually rebuilt. And then you talked about the Howard Street Tunnel. For the Port of Baltimore, and a lot of people in the world don't understand this. I'm going to try and explain it as quickly as possible here, is that the I-95 corridor, the eastern seaboard of the United States of America, can't double stack containers through that entire corridor and never could. So what I mean by double stack is container comes off the ship, it goes on the rail. There's one level. You put a container on top of it. That's double stack. You can't do it because of a tunnel in Baltimore. That tunnel in Baltimore is called the Howard Street Tunnel. That tunnel was built in 1890s. So we right now in the Port of Baltimore in the state of Maryland, we are 14 days away from the comment period ending and get our finding of no significant impact. Our public-private partnership between the state of Maryland, CSX Railway, and the federal government will break ground in September for double stack. And what I mean by double stack again is it's not just that tunnel, but it's the 22 bridges between Baltimore and Philadelphia going through Delaware that opens up the entire East Coast to CSX and also allows double stacking all the way to all the way through the Ohio Valley into Chicago. So those are the infrastructure. I think that and Lorianne brings up a good point about taxpayer dollars. I find the best value, or I see the best value, when you have state, federal, and a private sector entity that are completely 100% engaged for that infrastructure on that public-private partnership, and everybody has skin in the game, because then you don't lose. And that's how I view it. And I think that the Biden administration is going to be very good moving forward on these kinds of concepts.
That's really good perspective too. And on the similar component for you, Mario, when we were talking, we just completed a bridge here locally in Long Beach, right? And this bridge is going to challenge a test of times. With larger ships means more trucks on the road with containers, which is more wear and tear. So at the same question for you, which William helped answer. So what other infrastructure improvements should be prioritized here on the West Coast? We have a lot of trade with Asia. So, we're a direct connector between that. So, what can help aid us in our recovery and prepare for the future?
Well, first of all, Adil, as you know, our bridge goes to everywhere. There's not a congressional district in the mainland United States that can't say they received a container or has sent a container that goes over this bridge. But I think the two areas that I think when we talk about infrastructure that's key for the port is rail. Bill mentioned on his end, the double stack project on the West Coast. Rail is essential. I mean, the good news is we have a very good rail infrastructure. However, again, the continuing need to put containers on dock, that is, as opposed to trucking them out in terms of long distance, is for us a priority here. So I think rail is the number one infrastructure kind of priority in terms of funding. Second would be the funding for software, hardware, basically technology. I think, again, technology is the future here in terms of what we need to do. As I reference, the Amazon state of mind, which is, again, predictability, reliability, time is of the essence. So to move towards an efficient model by use of technology, I think it's also a priority at the top of the list.